Hi, my name is Taz from Union One Day Camp, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to make something called a dust bunny. This is a dust bunny. It's a cute little ball of fluff. What you're going to need for this activity is some string. I'm going to be using yarn today. Any string really works, just make sure you have plenty of it. You're also going to need a fork, that's very important, and some scissors. So your first step is you're going to take your ball of string and you're going to cut a length of it off. I'd say about 4 inches or more, not a huge amount. So what you're going to do is you're going to take that piece that you've cut off, you're going to take your fork, and in between the middle two tines, you're going to take your string and you're just going to place it right through there. Just like that. And you're just going to hold it down like that. That's going to come in handy later. Next, what you're going to do is you're going to take your string and we're going to do something called weaving. It's super okay if you don't know what that means. I'm just about to tell you. What you're going to do is you're going to take the end of your string, and in this hole between the last two tines, you're going to place it in between. You're going to leave a little bit on the outside just to make sure that it doesn't pull through. And you can hold that with your thumb and finger around it like this to make sure it doesn't go away. So what you're going to do is you're just going to weave it back and forth between the tines. So what you're going to do is you're going to switch off every row, whether you're going in front or behind each tine. So as you can see, maybe you can't see, as you can see right here on my first row, over here, I went behind, and then I went in front, I went behind, and then I went in front. It's a little different from my perspective. So then you wrap it around the edge, and you go back through, and you just do the opposite of what you did to come through that way. So you just go through them like a little obstacle course for your string. Just back and forth. And every time you wrap it around the side, it should very easily make it apparent which way you're supposed to go back and forth. You can do this on any size fork. I've also made some on some really big serving forks before. They were very large dust bunnies, but they were cute nonetheless. So if you want to make it on a very big fork or a very small fork, either one is fine. But to start off and to learn how to do it, I usually just use a normal size fork, a plastic fork, a metal fork, whatever you got lying around the house, something you can eat pasta with. And you're just going to go back and forth. And what you're doing, because you're going the opposite way each time, is you're doing something called weaving. So I'm about halfway up right now, and you should start to see these little grooves in between the tines. These little prongs are called tines. You should see these little grooves in between the tines, and that means that you're doing it right. If you're not doing it right, that's perfectly okay. You can just start right over, it's no big deal. So what you do is, like I said, you take this, you go around, back through, around. So if you can see, like that, and then going back the other way, I'll just do the opposite, and you end up with something that looks a little bit like this. So what you're going to do is you're just going to keep weaving until you get pretty much to the top of your fork. If you make this and you think, oh, it's got too much fluff on it, or it's too big, I want it to be less fluffy, you can always do like half the fork, but typically I do the whole fork. And if it starts to get Like if it starts to get spread out, you can just grab this and you can push it down a little bit, and it'll give you more room on the fork. If you feel like you're running out of room or you're really struggling to get it on in between the little spikes as it gets higher and higher, you can just push them down. So, I have now reached as high as I want to go. I push them down pretty hard so it gets really compressed in there. So I have pressed it down and I have done as much weaving as I want to do. So I'm going to move on to the next step. And what you're going to do is that little tiny piece of yarn that I made you cut off and put in between the first two earlier, this is where that comes in. So what you're going to do is you are going to take that little tiny piece. That is this piece. These two are connected. This is the string at the beginning of this string. So what you're going to do is you are going to wrap it up and around the back. It looks like this, going through those two, and you pull it up, and what you do, this is a little hard to see, do with both these hands. So what you do is you just tie a single little knot like you're tying your shoes, the beginning of tying your shoes, and you pull real tight. And obviously you're not going to be able to get it super tight. So what you're going to do is you hold it like that, and right where those intersect and you have that first little knot, you're going to press your finger down. You can do your front finger or your thumb, either one works. I'm going to do this so you can see it easier. And what you're going to do is you're just going to slowly and carefully, you're going to pull all of this weaving off very slowly. Don't try to go too fast. You're just going to pull it right off real gently. And you should end up, you should end up with something that looks a little bit like this, like a little accordion. What you're going to do is you're going to find those, you can't see me. You're going to find those two strings again that are holding it. And you're just going to pull it tighter so that it's a real tight little thing. And then you just do another little knot like this, and you make it a double knot. And you make it all tight. And then you go back and you fluff this boy out. You just kind of wiggle him around with your fingers. And then you come back with your scissors and you cut off all the extra string that you don't really like. So I'm going to cut off the string that I left over to make sure that I could hold it very well. And the string that I just loosed it from, the big ball of yarn, till I end up with something that's kind of like this. You can leave those strings on that you use to tie it tight around the fork. You can actually leave those on if you want, and you can use those to actually tie it to something if you want. A lot of kids in day camp and adults, what we like to do is we like to tie them to our badges, or you can tie them to your shoes, you could tie them to your backpack. Very cute. You can just put them anywhere. And that is how you make a dust bunny.